Okay, everyone, this section is really an easy section because it's just solving equations. And I know you guys are getting to be the masters of solving equations. But before we do, let's review. So take a minute and answer 1 through 4. And then go ahead and solve the equation that's here and mentally process the steps that you're taking as you solve that equation. But go ahead, it's just true or false. That's all I want you to do is T or F in the line, and then go ahead and solve the equation. Pause the video though and give it a try. All right, let's see how you did. So you remember the line means 0.555555 dot 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 forever and ever. This just says 0.555 period, not dot 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 dot. So this is a false. Okay, if it said 0.55555 dot 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 dot, then it would have been true. All right, it says to write 9 over 19 as a decimal, perform this division. Right, so that looks good. Remember, the numerator goes inside, and then the 19 goes on the outside, so the denominator goes on the outside, so that looks good. This is false. Why is this false? Well, a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So I know that that's got to be a false statement. And to simplify this, we first subtract. That's true. You can subtract first if you want and then multiply through. So there's two options. You could either distribute through or you could subtract, right? PEMDAS says work into the parentheses. So that's true. You could subtract first. All right, so let's look at this next one. So in order to solve an equation, the first thing you have to do is get rid of your parentheses, right? So let's go ahead and distribute that 3 to the x and the 3 to the positive 9. So that'll be 3x plus 27 minus 2. And then over here we'll have 8x minus 8x, there we go, minus 5. So that would be step number 1. Distribute to get rid of the parentheses. Okay, and then step number 2 is combine like terms. So over here we have 3x and then positive 27 minus 2 would be 25, and then here we still have the 8x minus 5. And then you're going to add or subtract to get all of your x terms on one side of the equation and your constants on the other. So we're going to add and subtract to get all x terms on one side of the equation and the constants on the other. And you don't need to write these down if you have these steps down, but I'll give you a minute. Distribute to get rid of the parentheses, combine like terms, and then you got to get all the x's on one side, everything else on the other, right? All right, so there's a couple things you can do. I'm just going to go ahead and take care of the x terms. So I'm going to subtract 3x first. So that'll give us 25 on the left-hand side, and then 5x minus 5 on the right-hand side. 8x minus 3x. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, and then I'm going to add 5. So then I have all the constants. And then the last step to this is divide. Right? You can write that last step down. So it looks like x is equal to 6. So the rest of this section is just this, but you have decimals, but it's okay because we have our calculator and we can use our calculator to calculate these. So I wish we were together. I'd ask someone, how do you undo subtracting a 3.4? And I'm hoping someone would say you add 3.4 to both sides. And remember, you don't have to do this in your head. I mean, maybe you can see that that's easy to add, but I'm just going to do my calculator because you can use your calculator on this. There it is. 8 and 94 hundredths. Okay, so how do we undo division? To undo division, we multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3 and 1/10. Those cancel, and I'm going to pull out my calculator. Isn't that nice? We can do these with our calculator. So that will give you 19 and 22 hundredths. So how do we undo multiplication? To undo multiplication, we divide. Okay, 6.7 divided by -2. Looks like x is going to be -3 and 35 hundredths. What do you think? This isn't too bad, right? Okay, to undo adding, we subtract. And we're just going to pull out our calculator. So 9 and 2/10 minus 4.5. Looks like 4.7 or 4 and 7/10. Alright, so this next one looks like it's a two-stepper. So we got to get this by itself first before we're allowed to divide. So to get that by itself, we're going to subtract 5.8 from both sides. Alright. So that's going to be 2.4. And then last step is to divide. So what's x going to be if I divide that by 1.2? It's like x is going to equal 2. Alright, and then this one is going to require a couple steps. You can decide what you want to do first. I'm going to subtract the 4x from both sides. So I'll have 3x plus 3.2 equals -1.6. Then I'm going to get my constants together. So I'm going to subtract the 3.2. So that'll give me 3x. 3x is going to equal, oops, -1.6 minus 3.2 gives me -4.8. And so to solve, I'll divide. Sneak that over so you guys can see it. There we go. So on my calculator, I got -1.6. So I'm hoping this is kind of a nice review, right? We've been solving equations a bunch of times. I'm hoping that this is just a nice little review for you on those steps to solve equations. So then on the back of this sheet, we just have a couple more. This one's going to require a check, which we really need to get in good habits to do. So let's get rid of our parentheses and we'll distribute through. That's always the first step. Okay, I'm going to pull out my calculator, and 5 times -3, 2.36. So I'll have minus 1.8. Okay. And that's going to equal negative x plus 2.4. So let's see, I'm going to add x first. I'm going to get all my x's on the left-hand side. So 6x minus 1.8 equals 2.4. Then I'm going to add 1.8. So 6x is going to equal, if you want to do that on your calculator, 2.4 plus 1.8 is equal 4.2, and then we'll divide. So it looks like x is going to equal 0.7. So when you do your check, you don't resolve it. What you do is you just pop in 0.7 wherever you see an x. Right? It was a negative x, so it'll be a negative 0.7. And then you just pull out your calculator, type it in exactly how you see it. Okay, so that's equal to 1.7. And then you do the left-hand side and just make sure they're the same. If they're not the same, oh, ours are the same, so we're good. We're good to go. We know we did it right. If they don't come out to be the same, that means you made a mistake somewhere over here. So you have to go back over and fix it. All right, so pause the video. This is really important for you to try. So pause this because you have to decide whether it's an equation and you solve for it or an expression where you just simplify it. This is where it gets a little confusing. But so this is going to force you to think about it. So if it's an equation, you solve for x. If it's an expression, then you simplify. Right? So go ahead, pause the video and give it a try. And then we'll come back and we'll check it. But really, give it a try. Okay, the way I think about it is that there's an equal sign. There's my wall. So what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So let's get rid of the parentheses. Let's take our 6 times our 1.43. And so that'll give us a positive 8.58. All right. So I have a side that's a lonely side, right? I have a lonely x side, so all the x's have to go with the lonely side. So I'm going to subtract 6x. So that'll give us a negative 1x. And if you want to think about dividing by negative 1, this will give us x equals 8.58. So this was one where we had to solve because we had an equal sign so I can make my wall. This guy, there is no equal sign, so I don't want to see anyone adding 11.7 to both sides because there is not both sides. The only time you do that concept where you undo is if you've got like this, a wall. Okay, so I'm allowed to do that here. Here, I'm just going to circle my like terms and combine them. So I'm going to pull out my calculator and I'll go 9.6 minus 11.7. So this will be negative 2.1x. Okay? And then these are like terms. These are my constants. So now I'm just going to pull out my calculator and go negative 3.2 plus 6.9. Okay, and there's my answer simplified. I can't solve it because this is an expression. And an expression, you can't solve it. You can only simplify. All right. This does not have an equal sign. So it's an expression. So I'm going to take that 3 and distribute it to each term inside that set of parentheses. So I can get rid of the parentheses. So hopefully you did this. 3 times negative 2 is negative 6x. Now I want you to be very careful with this. We're going to distribute a negative 4 to both of these terms. Remember, the sign, it can't be separated. So this will be minus 8x because you have negative 4 times 2. And now we're going to go negative 4 times negative 7.2. Do you see that? So we'll have negative 4 times negative 7.2. Negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm hoping you tried it beforehand and are looking down to make sure you wrote that as a positive. So let's circle our like terms. So this is a like term with this. And if you just pop that into your calculator and went negative 6 minus 8, that'll give you negative 14x. And then these guys right here are like terms. So we'll have 15.3 plus 28.8. So it'll be plus 44.1. This is an expression, so it cannot be simplified, or this can only be simplified. You cannot solve it. This is an equation. So this is where we're going to solve it for x. I hope that makes sense. Okay? So let's see. I'm going to subtract 5.4z from both sides. So I'll have, if you guys can see it already, but I'll go ahead and do it on my calculator. 8.4 minus 5.4. So that'll give us 3z minus 2.6 equals 10.3. To undo the negative, I'm going to add. Okay, so we'll have 3z equals 12.9. Right? And then the last step is to divide by 3. So we have 12.9 divided by 3, so that's going to give us z equals 4.3. So that was a nice little review, right? Just to remind us about expressions and equations. And then the last one, we've talked about this, was just how to go back and forth between Celsius and Fahrenheit. So this is a different little formula than we saw before, so I thought it was kind of fun to look at that. Before we had 9/5 and 5/9, you saw fractions, but here they converted it to a decimal. So let's just play with this one. It says, here's a formula for if you're given Fahrenheit, you can go to Celsius, or if you're given Celsius, you can go to Fahrenheit. So they want us to find F if the Celsius is 46.5. Let's find the Fahrenheit. Well, let's undo division first. This is a little trickier one. To undo division, we're going to multiply, there was a parenthesis there, we're going to multiply 1.8 both sides, right? So the division will undo, the multiplication and the division will undo each other. And then on the left-hand side, go ahead and plunk that into your calculator. Did you guys get 83.7? So now we have 83.7 equals F minus 32. So to get F by itself, we're going to add 32 to both sides. So it looks like F is going to equal 83.7 plus 32. 115.7. 115.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so why don't you try it? Try it again. See if you, just look upstairs to follow the steps. So now they're saying it's 25 degrees Celsius. This is a good bonus, by the way. I just like the way this kind of looks, this problem. So it's a fun little bonus. There's a bunch of bonuses on the next test. All right, you ready? So the first thing you're going to do, right, this is kind of bubbled in already. We want to get this by itself, so we just have to add 32 at the end. So you're going to multiply by 18. So now the division and multiplication will cancel each other out. And we'll plug in 18 times 25. So did you guys get 450? Oh, it's not 18. I'm like, wait, this sounds way too big. Oh, this is why I need you guys to be here. It's 1.8. Do you see it's divided by 1.8? I was like, this can't be a temperature. All right, let's try it again. So 25 times 1.8. This is why I need you guys to be here to catch my little mistakes. There we go. So this will be 45 on this side equals F minus 32. And then if we add 32 to both sides, I just knew that when the temperature is 25 degrees Celsius, it's like a nice balmy day. So it looks like 75 plus 30, 45 plus 32 is going to be a 77 degrees Fahrenheit day. I knew it was supposed to be nice, so 450 degrees was a little too hot. That's why I knew I beefed it up somewhere. Yeah, so it should be multiplied both sides by 1.8. I just copied the equation down wrong. And then you're going to add 32 to undo. So that would be a nice temperature, right? 77 degrees. All right, so let me know if you have questions. Make sure you read the directions to your wow very carefully so that I will get to see each of you this week over spring break so that I know you know how to use your phone to start scanning things, and you sign up for a time to take your test on Chapter 4. Okay? So I look forward to seeing all of your faces over spring break. Note the times that I'll be on Zoom, and find that link that is under the videos tab on Blackboard. It says Zoom Room. So you click that link and that'll get you in a Zoom room with me. So I'll get to see you all soon. All right? Take care, and we'll see you in a few days.